Good evening and bienvenidos to the very first edition of Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, part of WTTW News' continued commitment to engaging Chicago's diverse communities. I'm Hugo Balta, WTTW News Director and your host. On the show tonight, is CPS making the grade with remote learning? The pluses and minuses of the first week of classes.
To criticize the president on, how he handled it, is very unfair.
We're weeks away from Election Day. Are the candidates giving Latinos a good enough reason to vote for them? And rolling out Resistance, your last chance to see an exhibit in the Loop about the power of resistance in Puerto Rico. But first, the past several months have been a difficult time for all of Chicago, but in the city's Latino communities, the pain from the COVID-19 pandemic has been especially acute. Still, as Chicago's Latinos know, 2020 is not the first time the community and neighborhoods have been challenged or their contributions overlooked. Now, with Latino Voices, WTTW News seeks to present a complete picture of a roll-up-your-sleeves, let's-get-to-work community who are part of Chicago's proud past, present, and future. Even before it was known as the city that works, Chicago has always been a place for people willing to put in the work. And during our city's rise as an industrial capital in the 1910s, it was the promise of work, back-breaking work, in steel mills and stockyards, foundries and factories that first drew Latinos here. Subsequent waves of immigration from the 1940s to the 1990s brought Latinos of all origins to Chicago, looking for their shot at the American dream.
I'm proud that I'm a Mexican-American, but I have to identify myself as an American. I was born here in Chicago.
Today, their legacy is vibrant communities like Humboldt Park, Pilsen, Little Village, Belmont-Cragen, and many more, where Latino culture weaves itself seamlessly into Chicago's famed patchwork of neighborhoods. Latinos, who make up 1/3 of the population, continue to power the city that works. It has not been without struggle. Battles over immigration rights, housing and labor inequities, poverty, and violence continue to challenge many of the Latinos who have made Chicago their home.
It's just environmental terrorism to me. We're standing in a park and you can see behind me the facility. So you can see how closely one of the few green spaces that Little Village has can be directly affected.
Even now, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to forge its devastating path, the damage is most acutely felt in Latino communities.
In the city of Chicago, the positive test rate is somewhere in the 5 to 6% range overall. In the Latino community, it remains over 20%.
But as always, Chicago's Latinos are unafraid to put in the work. Activists and artists, dreamers and doers, showing up every day for their city, organizing in their communities.
The Puerto Rican agenda of Chicago really operates on a framework of solidarity, not charity.
To marching in the streets. To fighting for change.
Let's work together. Here in our community, we're standing with the workers. Sí se puede.
Latino Voices is here to put a spotlight on the trials and triumphs of our city's diverse Latino communities. We want to amplify your voices. Join us as we go to work for la ciudad que trabaja. You and I have a date. Later this month, I will be hosting Latino Voices, a WTTW News community conversation. In the virtual event, I will be speaking with community thought leaders about the challenges and opportunities facing Latinos, and of course, taking your questions. You can find out the details on our website. Up next, I'll look at the first week of remote learning for Chicago Public School students and the week's top headlines.
Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, is made possible in part by CIBC.
Now for some of the top stories from this week. 21 finalists have emerged from the 700 that applied for highly coveted licenses that will bring 75 new cannabis dispensaries to the state. But early feedback from some black lawmakers say the state's efforts at social equity and diversifying who'd receive those licenses have fallen short. People with previous low-level marijuana offenses in their background and their family members were supposed to have a leg up on receiving them. So were those who reside in areas most affected by the war on drugs. The state will hold a lottery sometime this month to finalize the new dispensaries. Mayor Lightfoot also announced an expensive and lengthy plan to replace the city's decade-old lead service lines. Lightfoot's plan is a shift in policy compared to her predecessors and is designed to chip away at the problem over multiple decades. The total cost could be $10 billion or more. About 400,000 Chicago homes are connected to these lead service lines since city law required lead pipes for about 100 years. Federal law banned the use of lead pipes in 1986 when it was discovered that they cause brain-damaging toxins to leach into the water. And coming up this week, Cook County is hosting its second annual Racial Equity Week to focus on the need to advance racial equity, especially in light of COVID-19 pandemic. The week kicks off with the Census Action event and will include a town hall on environmental issues, film screenings and discussions, transportation roundtables, and racial healing circles. And County Board President Tony Prickwinkle will join us on Chicago Tonight on Monday to discuss Racial Equity Week and other issues. Another top story this week was the beginning of another school year for thousands of Chicago public school students. CPS says more than 90% of students logged in for classes, but attendance isn't the only measure of success. Here to tell us if they think CPS has made the grade so far in this unprecedented school year are Miguel Del Valle, President of the Chicago Board of Education, and Dr. Cristina Pasiones Sayas, Associate Vice President of Policy at the Erickson Institute. Let's get right to it. Miguel, when school was cut short in spring, CPS had to scramble to figure out ways to get kids online. Where are we now with tech and access equality versus where we left off in spring?
Well, these are unprecedented and challenging times for all involved, particularly for students and teachers and families. We were able to, during the spring session, distribute 128,000 devices, and now at the beginning of the quarter, we've distributed another 32,000. And in addition to that, and probably more importantly, thanks to the mayor and her leadership, we were able to get commitments to fund students who need to be connected to the internet. And thus far, out of 100,000 slots that we have available to provide that support, 30,000 plus students have signed up. Our goal is to make sure that every student is connected. Our attendance rate on the first day of school was about 84%. We still have some students that are not connected, that we haven't made a connection with, and that's our top priority right now, is reaching those students, doing the kind of outreach that will ensure that those students are connected.
I have a freshman at home, and as a parent, I feel positive about the first week of school, but I know that I'm one of the lucky ones. Not all of the families have that same experience. Dr. Cristina, how would you rate CPS's performance in reopening this year? Do you think this was the right way to do remote learning?
I think it's a work in progress. I think none of us have anticipated how much of a lift this is going to be. And I think what's really important is that when we are devising a plan, that we're very deliberate and intentional about it not being a one-size-fits-all plan. I can tell you as a parent of a kindergartner and a second grader, I do have some concerns about how remote learning is not necessarily fitting the standards with respect to developmentally appropriate practice and teaching. And I'm also seeing some gaps in terms of best practices with online learning. It's not to say that people are not trying, and I see a ton of effort coming from our educators. They are so dedicated, and they are trying to make the best out of this particular situation. But what's really required, and what I think will put CPS on a trajectory of success, is to not only tweak and recalibrate this specific moment, but to have a long-term strategy, because we're going to be in this for quite some time.
You know, Miguel, one of the reasons why you're hoping students will get back into the classroom is because many of them do not have the ideal home setting for learning. You know, as Dr. Cristina mentioned, we're not in the ideal situation for all students. Having an adult around or not having a space to work in, what's CPS doing to help them?
Well, we've set up childcare locations for families that need support. We start out with 20 locations. We're going to continue to increase those locations where children can go during the day and be supervised and receive the kind of support that's important for parents who are working parents, single parents, etc. But I want to say that I, along with everyone else, we're hoping that we can get back to in-person instruction as soon as possible. Of course, we have to go with the guidance of our federal, state, and local health authorities to make that final decision at some point. But there is no substitute for in-person instruction.
You know, Dr. Cristina, many parents, certainly in the Latino community, working from home is not an option. What can families with parents who are essential workers do to help set their kids up for success? What are you seeing in communities and families? What are they doing for themselves?
I think what's going to be really important is to really identify what are the supports available so that you can figure out how do you actually make this work. As you mentioned, it is a luxury to be able to work from home. A lot of members of our community do not have that luxury. On top of it, if, for example, English is not your first language, you know, that is an additional kind of challenge that you have to overcome to be able to navigate this process. Yes, there's been a lot of information translated in Spanish, and there has been, you know, workshops that have been done in Spanish to support families, but it's really going to be key about how do we get this messaging out by trusted messengers, and also how do we leverage our community-based organizations that have the trust of our community, that fully understand how best to reach our community, and that tailor interventions and supports that are culturally and linguistically responsive.
Before I let you go, we're talking about school. Quickly, what letter grade would you give first week of school for CPS? Starting with you, Cristina.
Man, I'm going to have to put it right here at least for the younger kids, I'm seeing like a C minus. We got a ways to go for improvement.
Miguel, what would you say?
Yeah, I will not give a grade after 3 days at the beginning of the school year. I will say that there are a lot of challenges, and what's important is that we make sure that we connect with every single student.
We'll have to leave it at that for now. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, with Election Day weeks away, are presidential candidates giving Latinos a good enough reason to vote for them? A record 32 million Latinos will be eligible to vote in 2020, making Latinos the largest ethnic or racial group this election. According to a new Telemundo BuzzFeed News poll, 60% of Latino voters between the ages of 18 and 34 would cast their ballot for Joe Biden, while 19% of young Latino voters would vote for Donald Trump. But as 2016 showed us, one can't rely on polls alone. What's clear is that either candidate must garner significant Latino support on their way to the White House. Joining us to offer their perspectives on the presidential election are Marisa Arres, Third City Vice Chair of the Cook County Young Democrats, and Maria Vasquez, Chairwoman of Champaign County Young Republicans. Maria, let's start with you. Many of the 60 million plus Latinos in the United States, most of them immigrants and the children of immigrants, see President Trump as an enemy to the community for a variety of reasons, from dismantling DACA program to the separation of migrant families and slandering Mexicans during his June 2015 candidacy announcement. Why should this group support President Trump?
Well, I mean, yes, he has been widely criticized for, these comments that, to this day, I've yet to hear anything precisely against Latinos or legal immigration. In his first term of presidency, I think that he has shown with actions that he is for immigrants and children of immigrants and for minorities, especially Hispanics, by signing legislation. And I do want everyone to really read the full executive order that he did pass called the Hispanic Prosperity Initiative. If you go through all of the points, and I know I don't have time to go through all of it, but that order does improve access to education, training, economic opportunities within the Hispanic community. It does create pathways to on-demand job training. So this action shows that President Trump does support school choice, apprenticeships, and work-based learning initiatives. So that alone is something that is very important in the Latin community, that our children not only get the education they need, but when they do come, they do graduate from school, they do get proper on-job training, so that way they can sustain a job and, have all of these work ethics that, that aren't taught.
Thank you. Marisa, Sanders was very popular during the primaries. Do you think it's incumbent of Joe Biden to adopt more progressive policies, perhaps in the line with his former Democratic competitor, Sanders, who commanded strong Latino support in the primary?
Yes, I was one of the people that actually voted for Bernie Sanders in the primaries. A lot of what he was saying were progressive policies, and they were things that really resonated with me, with student debt forgiveness, social justice reform, police accountability. And so for me, those are all things that I am very passionate about. Especially the immigration issues, especially DACA. And so those are things that hit home for me, that Bernie Sanders, when he was talking about, it felt like he was speaking to me. So for me, Biden and his campaign and his policies and his platform, the fact that he's been able to adapt some of those has made me more comfortable to support him and to be able to vote for him. So I think that if he is going to win, which he is going to, he's going to need to continue to bring more progressive policies.
Now, you both mentioned immigration for both candidates, but we know that this is not a monolithic group. It was recently revealed, and we talked about, and we know the disparities around COVID-19 in regards to the Latino community. It was revealed earlier this week that President Trump told journalist Bob Woodward in February that he was downplaying the severity of COVID-19. Trump recently tried to defend his decision while Biden condemned. Let's take a listen.
I'm a cheerleader for this country. I love our country. And I don't want people to be frightened. I don't want to create panic. The last thing you want to do is create a panic in the country.
It's disgusting. We learned this on the day that we turned 190,000 Americans dead, and he knew this.
Since this virus has so disproportionately affected communities of color, how would you assess President Trump's handling of it, Maria?
Well, there's always going to be wide criticism on the president on how he handled it because he is the leader of our country. However, we're dealing with a virus that we don't even know, what the symptoms are. It seems like every day there's a new symptom. People react to it differently. There's people that they have died from it, unfortunately. But then there's people that have had it and they didn't even know that they had it. So, it affects everyone, differently. And to criticize the president on, how he handled it, is very unfair when we have, groups of people that, they want us to wear masks or, they don't want the schools to be reopened. They don't want churches to be reopened, but yet it's okay to go out and riot. It's okay to do all of these other things in big groups. And no, I don't see the Democratic Party condemning those actions, but yet, we seem to be dealing with a virus that is just
let me, and you make some valid points, but Marisa, what's your reaction? Do you think President Trump has been treated fairly in his response to COVID-19, specifically when we're talking about Latinos and people of color, where we've seen that they're in the front lines as far as employment and also behind in regards to access to health care?
I don't think that he has done enough. I think that it was wrong for him to keep it from so many people for so long. I think that it is completely fair to criticize the president for his mishandling of the entire situation. He has experts on his team to help him to find the best plans of actions and the best courses of actions. And he was not listening to Dr. Fauci, who literally said that he should have told people prior to, he should have done a quarantine prior to. And I think that specifically for the state of Illinois, I think that when Governor Pritzker put the quarantine in place and when we scaled back and we did that and essentially went on lockdown for a little bit, it really helped to bring our numbers down. However, I don't think that we have gotten enough help federally in terms of providing PPE for our frontline workers, for our first responders, and for our essential workers. We have not gotten help for our small business owners, a lot of who are Latinx and Black business owners. We are seeing small businesses close at an alarming rate. So we have not gotten the help federally that we need because he did not handle.
Thank you, Marisa. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you very much, Marisa. Again, to you, Maria, for your time and your insights. I hope to see you soon in the next edition of Latino Voices.
Thanks for having us, Hugo.
Up next, the power of resistance in Puerto Rico.
I'm Brandis Friedman. Join us tomorrow for the premiere of Chicago Tonight Black Voices. Chicago public school students on their first week of virtual class, plus the history of police in schools and the local connections of the NFL's first Black team president. That's tomorrow night at 6.
One of the first local museums to reopen this summer due to COVID-19, the Museum of Contemporary Photography is rolling out the Resistance at the Columbia College campus in the Loop. Arts producer Mark Vitale toured the exhibition with the curator.
In the museum galleries along Michigan Avenue, visitors are welcomed back in small groups. They see documentary photographs and artwork in a show called Temporal, Puerto Rican Resistance.
Temporal means storm. It's a word for storm or hurricane. I mean, it's more maybe commonly used in Puerto Rico because it's also the title of a song. What it means in English is storm, storm, here comes the storm. What will become of Puerto Rico when the storm comes? And this first gallery is dedicated to the after effects of Hurricane Maria.
The exhibition also documents austerity in the country before the 2017 hurricane and the popular uprising last summer that ousted the governor of the U.S. territory.
I wanted to show that it wasn't just the hurricane that has Puerto Rico in crisis. We've seen just budget cuts throughout. Hundreds of schools have been closed, and the infrastructure, which was already fragile just due to neglect, is just been exacerbated by the natural disasters.
One of the 11 artists made contemporary work with historic surveillance photos taken by the police and the FBI decades ago. A photojournalist printed large format pictures on FEMA tarps. Chicago-based artist Edra Soto made a gate studded with viewfinders. They show tiny images she captured in Puerto Rico the day after the hurricane. And another artist has an entire installation open for visitors. It's a recreated beauty salon that explores the struggle of women-owned businesses on the island. The show was organized by Columbia College's Curatorial Fellow for Diversity in the Arts. Dalina Perdomo Alvarez was attending graduate school in Iowa when Hurricane Maria hit.
When the hurricane happened for 2 weeks, I couldn't speak to my family. Power was out for nearly 3 months at my parents' home, and they're considered some of the lucky ones because some people didn't have power until a year after. My family and friends kept telling me like 3 months in, they said like it just felt like a really long day, like the time isn't passing anymore, like we're stuck in time and nothing changes. I really wanted to capture like the daily experiences, like the real experience, and I wanted to also show the resistance because I was tired of hearing the word resilient, I feel that puts a lot of weight on like the people who are consistently victimized. So I chose resistance as a counter word.
For Chicago Tonight, this is Mark Vitale.
If you're interested in checking out the Temporal exhibition at Columbia College, get moving. The exhibit closes next Saturday. The show is free but requires an online reservation to attend. There's also a virtual version of the tour. You can find out more on our website. And that does it for our first show for this Saturday night. Be sure to check out our website, wttw.com/news, for the very latest from WTTW News. And join Brandis Friedman tomorrow night for the premiere of Chicago Tonight, Black Voices. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, I'm Hugo Balta. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy, stay safe. Muy buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm named by elite lawyers as the top aviation firm in the country in 2020.